I was just watching you coach, and you have a great demeanor on the court. I've watched you coach during tournaments too, and unlike when you were a player, you were a fairly, it's safe to say, fiery and emotional guy when you played, weren't you? In fact, I just got to imagine that somewhere along the line there were some great fistfights, and maybe not. He's not confirming or denying, but coaching women is so much different, of course, than being on a men's Olympic team or playing with a beach partner, and the demeanor that you have to put forth. How have you been able to transform yourself, and how do you perhaps not blow your top occasionally?
When you go from player to coach, the big change is that now, maybe more than coach, or at least as much as coach, is I have to be a teacher. And I think back to grade school. How many times did your teachers blow their top if you didn't get that 2 + 2 = 4? And if they did, were they adding to the equation or were they detracting from the equation? So if you had teachers blowing their top all the time in the classroom, if that were an effective strategy, that would be happening a lot in the classroom. But it generally is not happening in the classroom, probably for a reason, that it doesn't necessarily get what you need, which is more learning, more improvement. So we're a lot more about catching people doing things right and celebrating when they do to try to reinforce the learning rather than blowing our top when things don't go right.
And has that been something that you've had to learn along the way? Like, for example, as an assistant in the last Olympiad and then taking it over yourself, have you, personally had to modify yourself, or is it just you just had to talk and said, all right, be cool?
It's a combination of a lot of factors, and one of them is I've just had some great role models over the year of people who don't blow their top very much. My coach at UCLA, Al Skates, the winningest coach of all time, had a very even and generally quite positive and confident demeanor, and he infected his players with that. I try to do that too. Played for Doug Beal, who was very calm and even. Played for Marv Dunphy, very calm and even. So great role models in head coaches there. And just when I look around and I see who are the people who are more effective in helping their teams play together, learn together, improve together, I generally see that the most effective strategies are ones that don't involve blowing one's top a lot.
I didn't mean to coin a phrase, but I'll take it. Let me ask you a couple more personnel questions about your team. And I use it maybe an analogy, starting with USA Soccer. Jurgen Klinsmann, for example, made a conscious youth effort movement in the last World Cup and since then, with some great results, some mixed results. And with your job, of course, comes plenty of criticism. He nodded knowingly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. John Speraw, for example.
People, if they didn't care, they would never criticize.
Well, for sure.
They're just showing how much they care about USA Volleyball. Everybody wants us to win all the time. I certainly want us to win all the time. Our players want us to win all the time, and there are a lot of good teams out there.
Absolutely. John Speraw has been fortunate enough with his men's side, especially most recently with going like some amazingly young players. I mean, if I'd ever told you in 1984, we'd have a bunch of kids just out of college on the national team, you'd have said you're crazy. How do you envision the importance of a blend of so-called seasoned veterans, really young players, the people in between? With both of these teams that we've been talking about, there's been that, but ultimately, like I said, you have to pare it down. And how do you conceptualize that?
Well, I guess the first thing is we try to reward performance and reward dedication to learning and getting better. And if you're getting better at a pretty fast clip, your performance is probably also going to be on the rise. But good examples of some of the young players, some of the recent newcomers would be somebody like Kim Hill that we were just training out here, who almost had to be talked into going to the open tryout that we have each year for the USA team in February in Colorado Springs. She went in early 2013, had a nice tryout. She didn't think she had a nice tryout, but we thought she had a nice tryout. We thought, well, we got to get her in the gym that May, and by August she was starting on all the Grand Prix, and then 12 months later she leads the USA women to their first ever major international title and MVP in the process at the 2014 World Championships. So that's an example of somebody young who improved at a rapid rate because she got a number of opportunities. If she hadn't been starting and failing some and coming up short and learning in the process in 2013, she wouldn't have been as good in 14. So we're doing our best, and we never are perfect at it, because you can't do it in lots of different ways over again and see, oh, that would have been a better way. But we're trying to give as many people as many opportunities to compete in a USA uniform as possible, knowing that every one of those chances leads to further development, more experience, and Kim's an example of that. Kelly Murphy in year one, also a starter then in just her second year, helping us win at World Championships. And then there are other people who had multiple years of experience. Jordan Larson, Feluca Akinrado, Krista Dietzen, Alicia Glass, who had been with the program longer, who had an impact on that World Championships. And then some in between, like Kayla Banworth, our starting libero. So we had all different levels of experience, but if somebody's young and shows lots of promise, we absolutely want to give them chances. And in the course of that World Championship tournament, first-year players, Tori Dixon and Kelsey Robinson, also played big roles when our other middles couldn't play every time. So they played significant minutes against lots of good teams and helped us win that tournament, and that has contributed to them continuing to, I guess, increase their role with us as the years go on.
Is there anybody not with the program right now who wasn't on either one of those two teams who might get into the mix?
It is essentially virtually, I won't say for sure, but virtually impossible for somebody to work their way into the mix this next year who did not compete with USA at some point in 2015. Why? Just because not only do you have to have some time to build experience with USA, but you have to have that chance to build confidence in yourself and build confidence in your teammates. So it's a pretty scary proposition for me as a coach to think about throwing somebody into a whole new experience, unproven to themselves and to their teammates, and make that be an Olympic type experience. So it's just very difficult if somebody's coming out of college this December. Very unlikely that they could work their way. I'd say it virtually impossible, but I'm not ruling it out. I suppose somebody could come out of nowhere and make that case.